Todd Howard has been giving a lot of interviews following the announcement and reveal of Fallout 76 at this E3. Over the past few days, it seems like he's been doing the international interviews. Only 2 days ago, we actually got the GameStar one, a German website, and today we have multiplayer.it, or an Italian website. Before we jump deep into this video, obviously most of what I'm reading you is translated, so there may be some minor errors here and there. I'm going to have a full link to their article, which again is in Italian. I am using Google Translate on the website for most of my kind of analysis of this. I'd encourage some of you guys to actually click on the link, maybe give them an ad impression, even though I'll actually summarize most of it and give you, again, my kind of insights. Giving them a page view never really hurts. In addition, there's been a ton of interviews over the past few days. If you're interested in checking out any of them, I will have some of the more interesting ones linked in the little eye right now. But with all of that being said, let's take a deep dive as to what Todd Howard said to this Italian website. So the interviewer actually opens with what I think is a really well-worded question, and he says, "Who's the main audience for Fallout 76? Who are you trying to convince to buy this game? The old school loving Fallout fans, or people that actually enjoy some of those other online multiplayer titles that we see today?" Todd says they're not really trying to convince anyone, but people who really enjoyed the exploration and open world aspects of Fallout are going to be the ones that enjoy Fallout 76. This is something that's a bit wary to me because they have made zero comments about the actual size of the story in this game. And although exploration and the atmosphere are cool, I think story is one of the major components of these games that really draw us in. Then he kind of says, since it is effectively Fallout Online, why don't you call it Fallout Online like you did with the Elder Scrolls? And this is an interesting answer. Todd says, well, because Fallout 76 is the name of the vault, and obviously it makes it quite clear this is not Fallout 5, which it isn't. It's more of a spin-off than anything else. But also, and I think this is something that's kind of getting a translation error, but he says something along the lines of that he can joke he's not going to do another multiplayer Fallout for the next 70 chapters. This is something that's kind of been hinted at in many of the other interviews. Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 are confirmed to be the next 2 games coming from Bethesda Game Studios. That, of course, after Fallout 76, and both of those games are confirmed to be largely single player, with the exception of maybe some multiplayer social features. So the actual game will be single player, but then I guess some kind of social feature. They never actually expanded what a social feature is. This seems to be reaffirmed in this interview, saying that for the next 70 chapters we will not see another multiplayer game. Obviously that's not a literal statement, but at least for the foreseeable future they're going to be sticking to single player. There's a question about his thoughts on cross-platform, and more or less he says that he really likes it. He wish he could bring it to Fallout 76, but since they're trying so many other new things, it's not going to make an appearance in the game. If you guys didn't see, in a previous interview he gave to GameStar, he actually mentioned that they were going to do cross-platform, but they couldn't due to Sony. But that cross-platform will actually be a thing in the Elder Scrolls Blades. Then their interviewer asks about solo play in Fallout 76, such as if they want to play alone, is there going to be specific areas of the map where there's only PvE, or even PvE dedicated servers, that being player versus entity, so no players killing each other, only players working against some of the creatures? So Todd effectively says no, but when you actually see other players, you have a lot of choices outside of just combat. You can use them to exchange items, join a team, or visit their camp they've set up. In addition, in the future, there's actually going to be these private servers that we've been hearing about. We don't know when or exactly what limitations they'll have, but here he kind of clarifies that their idea with these private servers is you can make your own rules for the server, kind of customize maybe difficulty, but in addition invite only your friends, have custom mods on them, and change the rules at your discretion. Then the question of, well, how are you actually going to prevent griefing and things like that? And so often in pretty much every single interview we've seen, a response from Bethesda was, well, we're still tuning it in, or something along those lines. But here we actually get somewhat of an answer. So Todd says that when you're under level 5, at least in the current build of the game, you will not be killable by another player. So level 5 is a considerable level. It's not like 2 or 3. You're going to have to do a few quests or a few things that are larger to get experience in the game. You'll probably have some equipment at that point, if it works in a similar way to Fallout 3, 4, or New Vegas. And I imagine this comment will definitely put some people at ease. Again, in pretty much every other interview, they've just said, yes, there will be anti-griefing measures, but we don't actually know what they are. Now we at least know of one of them, that under level 5, you cannot be killed by other players. On the subject of camps and if they could actually be damaged or stolen from, Todd says that they are damageable partially, but they're going to be extremely easy to repair. This is something he said in previous interviews, you literally just have to walk up to whatever was damaged and click one button and it'll be repaired. And the reason for this is because you can actually technically trap players in your camp, and they obviously don't want that as a gameplay mechanic, so another player could break their way free if you did trap them in your camp. But he doesn't mention anything about stealing. It seems like he just kind of ignored that aspect of the question, which makes me think that stealing won't be a component in this game when you find somebody else's camp. I'm not sure if this has been confirmed anywhere else, but yes, fast travel will be making a return in Fallout 76. It'll probably work in the same way it worked in every other game. It's just you'll be kind of removed from the map as you're traveling from one point to another. I know it's something a lot of us had in our minds, and it's nice to see an actual confirmation of that, but also Todd confirms there will be no vehicles or mounts, comparing it to every other Fallout. On the question of how quests and quest management will work, Todd kind of goes over the same thing. You can get them from robots, terminals, radio stations, etc. Then the interviewer tries to figure out, can other players, like another human that is just also playing Fallout 76 on the same server, give you a quest of sorts? The response was not exactly, and when the interviewer asked for Todd to elaborate, he says it's going to be something they elaborate on in the future. That's actually something I'm really hopeful for. I think it'd be pretty cool if you could give other players quests of some sort, even if they're minor fetch quests, but you could actually pay them a certain amount or even compensate them with certain items. I just think that'd be a really cool mechanic, and it's something I'd love to see in this game. The game will feature a day-night cycle with variable weather, and you actually can become somewhat of a merchant in this game. So the interviewer asks about this, and more or less, let's say you collect a bunch of resources, set up your camp, you could actually place down a little robot that will sell some of those things that you have created, such as weapons, to other players that are passing by. This is something, again, that I'm really excited to see. I think it's going to be a really cool mechanic in the game, and I'm excited to see how custom some of these weapons get. Like, hopefully there are some genuinely rare things that you can only buy off of other players crafting them. And it's expanded to say that you could literally sell anything except certain quest items. This part's pretty interesting. So on the question of Battle Royale and whether or not it's going to be in Fallout 76 in any shape or form, Todd Howard responds with, "We'll see." So in the past, they've kind of confirmed that it's not going to be there on release, and this seemingly follows that. But whether or not we see Battle Royale in the future has always kind of seemingly been a no, but this is making it a maybe. I know a lot of people don't like how many companies are jumping on the Battle Royale train, but honestly, a like 40-player Battle Royale mode in Fallout 76 isn't something I'm not excited for, as in, I think it could be kind of cool. Obviously, if it's only optional, not a fundamental aspect of that game, but let's say it's one of the DLCs, they are including free DLCs with this game, I would definitely play it, and I could see myself getting quite a few hours of enjoyment out of something like this. This part to me is pretty curious. The interviewer says, "Can you tell me something more about the beta? I know you're not talking about the release date, but what kind of content can we expect?" I was wondering this myself, because is the beta going to only be a snippet of the game, or are we going to have full access to the game? Todd says, "I think it'll be released in several stages, and our hope is that the main beta is the full game." So my takeaway from that statement is maybe there'll be a closed beta with smaller access or something like that, or maybe the first week of the beta will only feature a snippet of the game you could play for 10 hours or something like that, I don't know. But then as they actually break some of their servers, proceed to fix them, and reach the final stage of the beta before the release date, there will actually be a fully playable Fallout 76. And then a follow-up question as to whether or not your beta progress will be saved when the actual game comes out, and they say they're not sure on this. They obviously would ideally have it so your progress is saved and they don't have to reset any of the servers, but we'll see is the exact answer. On the topic of Starfield, the interviewer asks, is it going to be like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, where the gameplay is fundamentally very similar, but they're two very, very different worlds? Todd doesn't give a direct answer, but he says when you see Starfield, like the actual reveal trailer, I assume is what he's referring to, you'll recognize it as our game. I take that to mean that yes, the gameplay is probably going to maintain some of those fundamentals, but maybe some of the other aspects, or there'll be new systems in the game also. They talk a bit about the Elder Scrolls 6, but one of the main takeaways that I'm sure most of us know is the main region for that game has been decided. Actually, Camelworks put up a really awesome video where he looks quite in depth at this. I'll have it linked in the little I hung out with him at E3, and he was talking about it for quite a while, and he was very excited for that video. So if you are interested in the Elder Scrolls 6, I know I don't actually cover it. I haven't made a single video on the game, but that video and his channel as a whole will dive a bit deeper into that game. I'm not sure what it is about these international interviews, but I feel like they really take things to a whole new depth. Like, they really just uncover a lot more about the game than some of the national ones or ones we've seen done by American companies. I still have frustrations about us getting so much information from these one-off interviews. There's a ton of stuff from this interview that haven't been learned from any of the like 10 plus interviews that preceded it. But of course, if you guys want to keep up to date with everything happening at Bethesda in the future, you can subscribe. If you actually want to see the other international interview from GameStar that also uncovered a lot, you can check that out. Or you can check out this mystery box I just opened that I got from Bethesda. Who knows what's inside? Maybe it's Fallout 76 and I've been lying to you this whole time and playing it. Either way, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.